Okay. Good evening, family. Good evening. Happy 62nd African Liberation Day. Ashley, what's up?
What's good? What's good? Hey, family. How y'all doing?
We want to thank all of you all for joining us on this live stream today. It's the 62nd African Liberation Day. And we're very, very, very excited to launch the Triangle Offense Policy. My name is Diallo Sumbri. I am the president and CEO of the Adinkra Group. We are an African cultural resource company based in Washington, D.C. and Accra, Ghana, soon to be all 54 African countries. And I'm here with my sister.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Ashley Milton. I am the founder and CEO of She Grows It. We're headquartered in DC. We're a full service consulting firm. We're also located in Dakar, Senegal, right here in Ghana, and soon to be all 54.
All right, so we've been blasting your WhatsApps. We've been sending you emails because we're very excited today to launch the Triangle Offense Policy. It's been in the work for some time, right? It's been in the work for some time. But, before we get into that, let me just say that for some of us, it's still African Liberation Day. For others, it's Africa Day or Africa Union Day. So it's very apropos that we're presenting this policy because somebody has to put the liberation back into the Africa Day. Somebody has to put the liberation back into the Africa Day because, as Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah said, the destiny of one country is linked until all Africa is free. And we're not all free yet. So we still on the Liberation Day. We still on African Liberation Day. So we're here today to talk to you about the Triangle Offense Policy. The Triangle Offense Policy, a strategic blueprint for diaspora engagement and economic mobilization.
So in one sentence, the Triangle Offense Policy is the most complete and future-ready actionable framework for African countries to attract and absorb the African diaspora who want to return home. And this is happening through coordinated pathways of human capital systems, regenerative direct investment, and then also regional economic integration.
So, we decided to go ahead and launch this because, to be very honest, when we asked ourselves the question, what is it that we were waiting for? We didn't have a good answer. We really didn't know what we were waiting for. And outside of having you all actually review the policy thoroughly, give us feedback, what we hope that happens is that somebody else is encouraged. That people get encouraged to say, you don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for committee approval. You don't have to wait for somebody to say it's okay to present your idea of African liberation to the people, right? Sometimes you might wait so long and you sit on it and sit on it. So we hope that this encourages everybody out there to just feel confident. I mean, we had a press conference earlier and we called on all state leaders, all African country presidents, all legislative bodies in all African countries, including the African Union, businesses, multinational corporations, all of our diaspora organizations in Ghana, Nigeria, and all over the continent to challenge us. This is a direct, full front, bold statement and challenge. And what we're saying is that we believe that the Triangle Offense Policy is the most comprehensive, complete, and well-rounded policy for reintegrating the African diaspora, not only the historical diaspora, but the indigenous diaspora into the African continent. So the way this is going to work is we were able to do a presentation yesterday for Afro Talk, and we want to show you the presentation. So we're going to show you the video, the presentation that we did explaining the Triangle Offense, and then we'll walk you through some of it. We'll do our best to monitor the comments. So this is more of a presentation. And after about 30 days, after we've released this, we're going to come back to you and schedule a number of virtual Q&As. Make sure you have the email address and everything that you need in order to give us feedback, in order to have a conversation with us about the policy. But this is serious. This is serious. This is about African liberation. And how can we get the African continent back together and bring all of Africa's children's homes from two of Africa's children from the soil? Dr. Bolton, do you want to say something before we play the video?
I'm just really excited to be here. 62 celebrations of African liberation, and we're here in Accra, Ghana, 2025. Diallo normally tells us that we're in the last year of the first quarter of the 21st century. And so this is really impactful. It's really bold, and we're really excited to really outdoor this. So we want you to watch our Afro Talk, which is a very significant platform that we released this triangle offense on yesterday. And I've done a TED here during the year of return. And so it was really nice to be able to, as an African, be able to outdoor our stories on our own platform. So very excited to share this moment with you all, and then get into a bit of the details and the discussion once we finish watching the video. Thank you all for joining.
Yep, so we know y'all joining us live on YouTube. We got you on Facebook. We got you on LinkedIn. So let's go. Here we go. Enjoy. Fourth quarter. 1 second left. You get 2 foul shots. Your team is down by 1. What do? Gotta breathe. Brace yourself. You gotta do something crazy that they all do in the NBA. And you shoot. Good afternoon. Welcome again to Afro Talks. As said, my name is Diallo Sumbri, aka 901 in coastal Eni of Yamebetre in the Akwa-Ibom North region of the Eastern Region. I'm here today as the president and CEO of the Adinka Group, as mentioned, the co-architect of Ghana's Year of Return, but I'm here today to talk to you really about basketball. How many people here have seen this before? Raise your hand. Don't be shy, raise your hand. Okay, hands down. We're in the basketball season now. The Knicks just lost. Pacers are up 2-0. Minnesota's getting smashed by OKC. Now, how many of you have heard of a debate that's going around the world right now on who is the GOAT? Has anybody ever heard of the GOAT debate? Raise your hand. Anybody? Some of y'all? Maybe not. Okay, so you've heard of it. GOAT debate. Who's the GOAT? LeBron. Somebody else. Who's the GOAT? I can't hear you.
Black Mamba.
Okay, there we go. I didn't have to say it. So everybody knows that the GOAT debate is who's the greatest basketball player of all time. Is it Michael Jordan or is it LeBron James? Is it LeBron James? Is it Kobe? There's a competition about who's the GOAT. There's even a competition about who's the closest to the GOAT. Most people believe Michael Jordan is the GOAT, right? Most people say, if you're young, you're probably going to say LeBron James because when Michael Jordan was playing ball, you were an egg or sperm, probably weren't born, right? However, when you ask yourself the question, and when we have this debate, you could tell I really didn't play basketball because I'm not even dressed like a basketball player, right? When we have this debate about who's the GOAT, I want to enter a new competitor into the chat. Some of you think it's MJ. Raise your hand if you think it's MJ, okay? And you have your reasons. Raise your hand if you think it's LeBron, okay? Raise your hand if you think it's Kobe. And Kobe ain't get no votes. Okay, I'll go. Rest in peace, Kobe. I want to enter a new contender into the debate. And I'm going to tell you that the greatest of all time is not a player. The greatest of all time is not Michael, is not LeBron, and is not Kobe. But the greatest of all time is the strategy that allowed us to even consider Michael Jordan or Kobe. And that strategy is called the triangle offense. The triangle offense is something that was employed as an offensive strategy in the game of basketball that allowed the Chicago Bulls to win 3 championships in a row twice. The triangle offense allowed Michael Jordan to become Michael Jordan. And let me tell you a little bit about the triangle offense. Can I pass it to somebody? You ready? Pass it back. All right, you see what we just did? We passed each other the ball. Neither one of us shot, but we shared. The triangle offense was a strategy that was employed to allow the team based on 3 major tenets. Spacing. I have to have enough space between me and the next player. Ball movement, as I just passed the ball, and player movement. What that allowed the team to do is that allowed the team to read the defense. That allowed the team to react and focus on the principles of the game, not the play. The principles, not the play. You follow me? So the triangle offense was based on spacing, player movement, and ball movement. And it allowed the team, it allowed this offense to not focus on any one particular person, but on the team. And it gave them the space to see the field. It allowed them to see the defense, and it gave them the ability to win collectively by passing the ball. Ready? Oh, don't worry, it ain't go out of bounds. We still good. So you could pass the ball and win collectively, or if I got the open shot and he passed the ball, I could shoot to score to win the game. You follow me? So we can win collectively, and at the same time, we can decide to pass the ball to one of our players for them to win the game individually. Ladies and gentlemen, today, we are here to talk to you about the greatest of all time. And the greatest of all time is not LeBron. The greatest of all time is not Michael Jordan. The greatest of all time is African people. And African people are now spread around the world. And the way that we get back to being the greatest of all time is by pulling all of our people together. We have the strategy, which is the triangle offense. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to introduce to you the coach of the triangle offense, who's going to help all of us gather all of African's children to return to being the greatest of all time, Dr. Ashley D. Milton.
Thank you for the introduction. You can start it. My name is Dr. Ashley Milton, and today I stand before you to remind us all we have always had a way home. From the Lumba's fire to St. Carl's dream, from Thanan's fierce words to Maya's soaring hope, from the drums of Accra to the echoes in the Mississippi. We have always known liberation is not a wish. It's a direction. It's a strategy, a map. And that map, we now call it the triangle offense. When Ghana called us in 2019 for the year of return, over 750,000 souls answered. We came barefoot and ball gowned, with tears in our eyes and passport in hand. But when the drums fell silent
Many of us asked, now what? Where do we belong? Where do we build? Can we truly come home? We came seeking healing, but we found bureaucracy and limbo. So we began to write a new story, one rooted not just in spirit, but in law, economics, ecology, and governance. A story born from Harriet's whisper and Kwame's blueprint. A story that would not only bring us back, but that would build us forward. That story is the triangle offense. The triangle offense is not a fleeting hashtag or campaign. It's a continental framework, a bold, integrated strategy for reintegration, regeneration, and return. It stands firmly on 3 pillars, each a critical lever for transformation. That first pillar is the Special Skills Visa Program. Africa's future depends on its people. Engineers, doctors, teachers, creatives, visionaries. The diaspora holds this treasure trove of talent, ready to return, to contribute, and to lead. The Special Skills Visa Program is a legal, streamlined pathway, not just for visits, but for living, working, and thriving. It offers a clear route to employment, residency, and eventually citizenship, enabling skilled Africans abroad to come home with dignity and with purpose. This program is designed to dismantle barriers, bureaucratic and psychological, and to welcome our people home with open arms. It's time to make the Akwaaba real. Imagine thousands of doctors filling clinics, teachers inspiring classrooms, innovators launching startups, all rooted in their ancestral soil. This is not migration as a favor. It's migration as a right, as a renaissance. The second, durable district development. Not everyone dreams of city skylines or capitals. We envision new towns, eco-communities, districts where culture, economy, and ecology are intertwined. Durable district development is about building local economies that sustain themselves. What you grow, teach, build, and sell stays in your community. This is regeneration, not extraction. It's Harriet's freedom meeting Sankara's justice, where communities reclaim their land, their resources, and their futures. Through durable district development, we see green hubs, cultural biomes, and resilient infrastructure that empowers people at the grassroots. This is Africa's future, not borrowed from elsewhere, but born from its own soil and spirit. The third, regeneration. Geekus. What about take us through?
That the greatest of all time is not a bounce, we still will. So you could pass the ball and people are now spread around the world. And the way that we get back to being the greatest of all time is by pulling all of our people together. We have the strategy, which is the triangle offense. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure triangle offense who's going to help all of us gather all of Africa's children to return to being the greatest of all time, Dr. Ashley D. Milton.
Thank you for the intro. You can start it.
My name to remind us all a home. From Lumumba's fire to Sankar's dream, from Thanan's hope, from the drums of Accra to the echoes in the Mississippi, we have always known liberation is not a wish. It's a direction. It's a strategy, a map. And that map, we now call it the triangle offense. When Ghana called us in 2019 for the year of return, over 750,000 souls answered. We came barefoot and ball gowned, with tears in our eyes and passport in hand. But when the drums fell silent, many of us asked, now what? Where do we belong? Where do we build? Can we truly come home? We came seeking healing, but we found bureaucracy and limbo. So we began to write a new story. One rooted not just in spirit, but in law, economics, ecology, and governance. A story born from Harriet's whisper and Kwame's blueprint. A story that would not only bring us back, but that would build us forward. That story is the triangle offense is not a fleeting hashtag or campaign. It's a continental framework, a bold, integrated strategy for reintegration, regeneration, and return. It stands firmly on 3 pillars, each a critical lever for transformation. That first pillar is the Special Skills Visa Program. Africa's future depends on its people. Engineers, doctors, teachers, creatives, visionaries. The diaspora holds this treasure trove of talent, ready to return, to contribute, and to lead. The Special Skills Visa Program is a legal, streamlined pathway, not just for visits, but for living, working, and thriving. It offers a clear route to employment, residency, and eventually citizenship, enabling skilled Africans abroad to come home with dignity. This program is designed to dismantle barriers, bureaucratic and psychological, and to welcome our people home with open arms. It's time to make the Akwaaba real. Imagine thousands of doctors filling clinics, teachers inspiring classrooms, innovators launching startups, all rooted in their ancestral soil. This is not migration as a favor. It's migration as a right. Renaissance. The second, durable district development. Not everyone dreams of city skylines or capitals. We envision new towns, eco-communities, districts where culture, economy, and ecology are intertwined. Durable district development is about building local economies that sustain themselves. What you grow, teach, build, and sell stays in your community. This is regeneration, not extraction. It's Harriet's freedom meeting Sankara's justice, where communities reclaim their land, their resources, and their futures. Through durable district development, we see green hubs, cultural biomes, and resilient infrastructure that empowers people at the grassroots. This is Africa's future, not borrowed from elsewhere, but born from its own soil and spirit. The third, regenerative direct investment. For too long, diaspora remittances were seen as charity, small drops in a vast ocean of need. The triangle offense flips that script. Regenerative direct investment is about investment with agency, diaspora-led development that is transparent, profitable, and circular. We move from foreign direct investment to regenerative direct investment where wealth is created and shared within communities. This is about ownership, not dependency. It's about building assets. Imagine a system where every dollar invested regenerates land, uplifts people, and spins wealth back into the hands of Africans. This is radical transparency, radical empowerment, and radical love for this continent. Now, look, every day online and in barbershops or the salons or our WhatsApp threads, our people are debating who's the GOAT. As Diallo just said, is it LeBron or Kobe? Is it Kobe or is it Michael? Pippen has even entered the chat. We debate stats and points and championships. But here's what most miss. Who is the coach? Who is drawing the plays? Who's building the team? Setting the direction, reading the floor, and strategizing the win? It's the coach. Shout out to Phil Jackson. I came to tell you that I'm the coach. It's me. This Afro Talk is about how we win. And the answer to that question, the how, is the triangle offense. It's our playbook, our framework, our direction. And don't get it twisted, the Senate starting today. I wrote about this in my 2015 dissertation. I declared then that my repayment to my community for getting this big degree would be a strategy that redefines the global perception of Africa through art, through economics, through policy, through business, and through culture. A decade later, that moment is now. The triangle offense didn't emerge overnight either. It stands on the shoulders of giants. Ghana first drafted the diaspora engagement policy that gave us the language. The Homeland Return Bill gave us legislative imagination. The Year of Return gave us momentum. But momentum alone is not enough. We need infrastructure, systems, not symbolism, laws, not longing, execution, and not emotion. We are 6 years past the Year of Return and 62 years into the celebration of African liberation. We honor our ancestors by building nations, not just remembering them. So what's this all about? What does success look like? Picture this. 10,000 skilled returnees welcomed through the Special Skills Visa program, transforming sectors across the continent. $100 million in regenerative investment, flowing from diaspora hands into African futures. 1 million data points guiding policy, making decisions smart, inclusive, and accountable. 16 nations across West Africa blossoming into green, culturally rooted hubs. In African countries leading the world in human-centered migration development policy. This is not a dream because it's already happening. Nigeria's AFTA shipment to Kenya, Ghana's diaspora engagement policy, Kenya's dual citizenship draft, and the African Union's call for diaspora strategies. All signs that the winds are shifting. But we will not wait for all to catch up. We will lead. Remember, everybody didn't get Harriet. Some people had to wait for the Juneteenth calling in Galveston, Texas. But that's okay because I'm coming for everyone now. This is not just for politicians or diplomats. It's for the Pan-African policy nerd, the third culture kid, for the HR directors, small business owners, the OG repats, and those who never left. For the artists who remember, the healers who plant, the builders who know. For every soul who believes that Black evolution is inevitable. To the ministers, commissioners, and secretariats who say, we need a plan, we wrote it. We packaged it, and we're premiering it. It's here. My name is Dr. Ashley Melton. This is my benediction. I walk the steps of Tubman, but I ride with the tech stacks, the timelines, and the transnational policy. I still dream underground, but I build above ground. And I'm telling you that the map is ready. The train is on the tracks. The coordinates, they're set. The policy is drafted. The future, it's African. It's diasporic, it's regenerative, and it's right now. So I ask you, as I always do, will you come? Will you come? Will you come and join us in this movement?
So, my people, all that good stuff she said is about basketball. It's about the triangle offense, which essentially is set up for us to use the fundamentals. It's set up for us to learn how to read the game. And if we are paying attention and we're reading the game right now, Africa is the game. We are the game. And the triangle offense is the strategy to help bring Africa back together again and rise to the greatest of all time. We thank you.
Thank you.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. So we hope you all, we apologize for the internet mishap. It happens, right? Even though anyway, it happens. It happens sometimes, but we're glad we got it back. So we really hope you all have enjoyed the presentation. Thank you for your comments. This came about because we believe that the conversations that we have at the barbershop, on the corner, and in our chat groups are important. We don't want to minimize the fact that so back. Come on. And hey, Auntie AC Sutherland, we are back. So one of the reasons why we need the triangle offense to be implemented and executed is because it's going to help us get some stable Wi-Fi up in this joint. Thank you all. So what we were saying what were we saying? Because I don't even remember what we were saying at this point before we got live.
I think we were just talking about the triangle offense and the importance of outdooring it. And we were so grateful for you guys to watch our video. And we want to get into the discussion.
Okay, so we're going to run a slideshow right now and kind of talk you through it a little bit. I'm going to post a link in the chat, and you all should be able to access the triangle offense from the link. So here we go.
All right. So I think that when we talk about the triangle offense and on this particular day, right? We're talking about Africa Liberation Day. Just shout out to all of the ancestors. You go to the next slide. Pan-Africanism is definitely not new to Ghana. And I think that it's really important for us to set the tone. Diallo was saying earlier to the press, we didn't just show up here in Ghana. Ghana, something like chose us. You were telling the story of how Nkrumah first invited the diaspora back. Then after Nkrumah,
Rolling. So I was having this conversation with my elder of choice, Baba James Smalls, and I said, Baba, why Ghana? Like, Black people, we come here, and I was really kind of refuting this idea that Ghana owes us something. And I'm like, we come here, we thinking that Ghana owes us this, that Ghana owes us that. Like, why Ghana? Why is Ghana the place that everybody feels like they could show up and, get citizenship or just whatever? And he said, well, Ghana asked for it. He said it started with Nkrumah. Nkrumah invited us home. Rawlings invited us home. So he went through each president and kind of let me know and saw how each of the presidents of Ghana established a strong relationship with the African diaspora. The current president, His Excellency John Mahama, is the one who first gave citizenship to members of the African diaspora. The previous president gave citizenship to about 1,000. We got the Black Star and the flag, and Ghana has been this Pan-African idea and this Pan-African country in this place that has always welcomed us home. So Ghana is it. Ghana chose all of us.
Ghana chose us all. And so many of our ancestors have come to this land. And so it definitely for us to pick up where they left off and drop this policy for us to be thinking about how we move forward. One of the things is they sat around for over 100 and something days and carved up Africa. And so we're hoping that this plan will help us sit down for 6 months, 3 months, and figure out where do we go from here. So let's look at the next slide. So why did we build this? The why, right? So we've been here. We've both been in Ghana for about 8 years now. I've spent my career on the continent. So spent our career on the continent, and Diallo always tells this story about how we met at Second Cup. So we're now 6 years past the year of return, right? And so when we think about why we built this, there's a lot of fragmentation in our system. So
we behind the scenes, y'all. Let's go. We regular human people, y'all. We good old Black folks.
So there's definitely a fragmentation of the diaspora return systems, right? So there's a lot of initiatives. There's a lot of talk about emotion, a lot of talk about healing, a lot of talk about coming home. But what we need are really structured pathways, right? We're talking about pathways for residency for historic diaspora. We're talking about pathways to employment for all diaspora, right? Those Ghanaians that are abroad, those Nigerians that are abroad that want to come home with purpose. We're talking about coordination of economic policy. There's so much money coming to Africa from diaspora remittances that we're not truly thinking about that as an investment block. So we want to stop talking about foreign direct investment and we want to start talking about regenerative direct investment. What does it look like for us to be evolving in our economic practices such that we are circular and circulating our currencies a lot more, so we're getting a lot more out of those dollars? And then there's a lot of legal uncertainty around returning. How can I return? What does, residency look like? How do I obtain citizenship? Can I get citizenship? These are all questions that really need to be fleshed out from a policy. So when we start to get into the foundational pillars, let's go to the next slide. These are really the crux of the matter. So when we talk about the problems that ensued or why we created it, there are these gaps. So when we think about the gaps are also the opportunity. So when we talk about the triangle offense and how we came up with this name, these are the 3 points. So the opportunity is that Ghana has already given us a diaspora engagement strategy, outdoored in 2023, and that's great. Ghana also led the way with this movement to bring us back to Africa with the Year of Return. The third pillar, or the foundational pillar, would be the Homeland Return Bill. This is what I call the legislative imagination that is giving us the legal pathway and the legal language to essentially provide systems and structures around what it looks like for us to come to reside here, what it looks like for us to come and work here and thrive here, and ultimately become citizens of the various African nations that are welcoming us back. So these are the foundational pillars of the triangle offense: the Homeland Return Bill, the Year of Return data, and then the diaspora engagement policy. So when we talk about, do you want to talk about your, when you talk about the triangle offense and the spacing and the ball movement and the player movement, make the connection for those of us who, or for those of them who are joining us, about how that connects to the special skills visa program.
So when you think about the game of basketball and the object to win the game, and how the triangle offense, the first requirement is space. Players have to be 15 to 18 feet apart. And the way they're positioned on the field allows each of the players to be able to see the defense, read the defense, and decide which offense they'll employ. So you don't just run one offense, and regardless of whether that offense works, you just follow that plan. There's some flexibility. Now, guess what? The only way the triangle offense works is if you have skilled players. You have to have skilled players, and you have to have players that know their role. So when we talk about the triangle offense, when it comes to diaspora engagement and our economic policy, Africa can continue to open up its doors for as many diasporans as they want. But until we provide an infrastructure and until we provide a structure where we're bringing in skilled players who not only know their name, skilled players that not only know their lane, skilled players that are coachable, skilled players that when they're on the field and they have to make a last minute call, they can also be a coach on the field. So the same way that the triangle offense provides the space, in the same way that the triangle offense provides the structure, remember, one of the pillars are player movement. So what we're talking about is moving our players, our people from the HBCUs with these special skills throughout the continent with their special skills visa based on the industries that need it with cultural orientation. Okay? How was that?
Perfect. Exactly. So when we think about diaspora returning to the continent, there's a diverse, sort of Black people. There are indigenous Africans that are looking to come home, and there's also historic diaspora that are looking to come home. What we know is that the continent is going to, especially Ghana, in the next decade is going to need about 200,000 skilled individuals to grow its private sector. So we need to start thinking about the movement of people, not just from diaspora to the continent, but also regionally within the continent. So one of the pillars is our special skills visa program, and it's really focused on the movement of people into specific industries on the continent. So the second pillar of the triangle offense is durable district development. So DDD, if you've heard of programs like Peace Corps and the likes, what we are saying is that as diaspora are looking to move back to the continent, everyone doesn't want to live in the city. Some people want to live beachside. Some people want to live in the mountains amongst the trees. Some people want to live in eco communities. Wherever you might want to live, what we're saying is that what we need to be doing is developing our districts outside of our capital cities. What that provides is not only an avenue for a diaspora to return, it's also thinking about continental Africa and the development that's needed within our communities. A lot of times we see, communities or individuals that are living outside the capital migrating to our urban hubs in search of employment, in search of opportunity. This is often what is driving brain drain on the continent as well. So what we're looking at doing is developing at the district level, starting with housing infrastructure, transportation infrastructure, education in schools, layering on the different things that are sustainable or regenerative in that area. So for instance, in Kwehu, here in Ghana, they're really known for production of yam. There's a lot of yam that's eaten across West Africa. What we need to start doing is seeing manufacturing pop up in these districts where we're manufacturing the raw material and utilizing it within that district, but also getting that product across country borders within Africa. This not only makes a reality for diaspora reintegration into these districts, it also makes it a reality for ECOWAS as a trade bloc. It also makes it a reality for AFTA as we start to actualize more intercontinental trade. So durable district development is really focused on how African districts in the various nation states can be manufacturing and developing local products, local material, selling those products locally, selling those products regionally. There's a lot of in-use case studies for goods that can be utilized in country before we even think about exportation. So durable district development is just that.
Before you go on,
Yes.
So we talked about player movement,
Yes.
right? And the special skills visa.
Correct.
Now, durable district development is the space that is required in order for our players to move about, and in order for us to pass the ball, we need to be spaced out. The same way you got to be spaced out 15 to 18 feet on the basketball court in order to be able to see, which offense to run, in order to be able to see who should get the ball, who has the open shot, who should drive to the lane, who should set a pick, and to be able to move triangularly on whether half court or full court, and even know what to do on defense, then you got to be spaced out. So one of the things that we're seeing in Ghana, and one of the things that we're seeing in other places where we have a lot of diasporans who are repatriating too, is that we all cram up in the same space. Everybody wants to be in Accra. And eventually, the more of us that decide to come to Africa, everybody's going to want to be in Ghana. But we need to actually space ourselves out. We need to have somebody in Zambia. We need to have somebody in Tunisia, Seychelles, Chad, Namibia. So we need our space. And what durable district development does is it takes our people, the movement of players and their special skills visas, and moves them to the various spaces that need the skill that they have.
So actually, I'm going to pass it right back over to Diallo because his village in which he is in Kosoheni is actually a case study for durable district development and actually one of our first case studies in Ghana.
So really quickly, one of the things that could happen with diasporans who decide to come back, have a cultural orientation, and put themselves inside of a village and create a family is to be able to model some of these things. So in Yamebetre, where I have the absolute pleasure and benefit of being in Kosoheni, which is the chief of development, We are currently engaged in a full community development plan, not based on what we want to see and not based on what we think should be there, but based on what the community wants, what the community needs, and based on the skills and the talent that's already in the community. We're specifically looking for champions and other individuals who want to contribute to that village to help raise that village. Again, we've said in the beginning, a rising tide raises all ships. So Yame Betre is a case study for durable district development because it's not about us coming into Yame Betre saying you need to do this, 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 and this, and then us doing it for them. But it's about creating a platform. One of the things you can see in the picture is the community center. Our community center is the first institution that we built in Yame Betre. And the point of the community center is to actually have a place where we can do training, where we can have conversations, where we can talk about the full community master plan, why the master plan is important, where we could talk about land, the price of land, the value of land, where we could talk about eco building and using building materials with less carbon footprint. And it's a place where when we invite other diasporans from outside of Ghana to come visit us, they can come there and get a cultural orientation so that everyone knows when you come to Yame Betre, we are moving with intention and we are developing a place where the diaspora and the indigenous people here can coexist together without displacement, and that we can bring our special skills to this space and help. And we can get what we need from the village as well. So it always has to be a two-way street. So that's Yame Betre. And Yame Betre, in case you want to know, it means God will provide, is located in the Akuapem North section of the Eastern region. It's very close to Kufordria, which is the administrative capital of the Eastern region. And we're under the traditional ruling in Akuapem. So we would love to have you visit us in Yame Betre.
So the third pillar of the triangle offense is regenerative direct investment. So the diaspora sends over $50 billion a year to Africa each year. Most of this bypasses national development strategies, which is the problem. So the triangle offense seeks to turn that into structured reinvestment capital. So what that means is that there's a host of projects and businesses, whether that be, startups, established firms that are looking to move from small firms to medium firms, agriculture ventures to infrastructure projects and government funding projects. All of these development features, right? We're talking about the growth of mega cities on the continent growing in the next decade. All of that needs to be funded. And so as we close out the first quarter of this century, lots of decisions have to be made and lots of investments are going to be needed. And so when we think about our national development strategies on the continent, what we need to do is to match that with the due diligence of these projects in order to make them transparent as to what their needs are fiscally, what their needs are like with the human resource capital, what is the social currency that this project has. These types of transparency metrics, right? These are the things that make it more appetizing for diaspora investment. Earlier, I mentioned that we send over $50 billion a year in remittances. That number is a drop in the bucket in comparison to what it could be if there were greater transparency and greater channels for money to come onto the continent. There's no shortage of money sitting on our shores. And we mentioned this today in the press. A lot of times our businesses are not able to receive money because formalization means that you're registered in the jurisdiction in which you are practicing business, and you are also tax compliant. Oftentimes the same metrics for tax compliance are the same metrics for financial investment. So if you're lacking on any of those things, these are the transparency metrics that make it easy for investment dollars to flow from diaspora hands into African futures. So what we want to do is we want to work with African governments to essentially work with programs around formalizing our private sector. And it doesn't have to be as hard as it sounds. Oftentimes what we're trying to do is squeeze a square peg into a round hole by saying that our society should be more like Harvard or Oxford School of Business, when really our private sectors are moving millions of dollars a day through markets that are seemingly chaotic but very organized. So what we need to do is we need to provide structure to the micro payments that are actually being made. And this is all about perspective and about lens. I always say that we need to remove lenses of perceived inferiority in order to acknowledge our greatness and our value, and that we're standing on credit. What that means as it relates to the private sector is that we have to remove these lenses of fallacies ultimately and track the small payments. So a credit system like Experian or Equifax is not necessarily going to see the microtransactions that are being made. Those microtransactions that are being made just need to be accounted for, systemized, and trended out. So therefore they can become actual payments. So ultimately there's a lot of making accountable, making more clear how business is done on the continent in order to increase the investment that's coming from diaspora. So when we talk about regenerative direct investment, we're talking about that transparency that increases the ability to joint venture, because we're bringing Western capital to an entity that may have African land. And both of these things are valuable. However, we can't necessarily see them equally. So we need to increase our ability to do those joint ventures. We also want to increase the validity of being able to raise funds through diaspora bonds that are backed by government, which are oftentimes the most credible entity in the country. And then there's also opportunities to co-develop. So we will get into this a bit more again as we outdoor this policy and then start to get more feedback from individuals that are, reading the policy, giving us critiques, giving us, suggestions and things of that nature.
So now we're on the third pillar of our triangle offense. We've already talked about player movement. We've talked about the space and durable district developments. Now we need to move the ball. And what's the ball? That's the cash. Now we actually need the finances and the resources to move that around. So if we have the finances and resources that we own, right, through regenerative development, and we have the right players with our special skills visas, and we have our durable districts spread out in order for us to go through 3 to 5 years to get some data and to actually see how this thing works and have a full test case, we have everything we need, and we don't need anything else on the continent of Africa but ourselves. History has proven what has happened when we relied on others.
So when we think about success of the triangle offense policy, what we're talking about is increasing the flow of dollars. So we're talking about $100 million in capital influx into the continent. That's for agriculture projects. That's for business growth and development, the rising of more medium-sized enterprises. That's 10,000 returnees reintegrated in the next 3 years. I've already mentioned that as Ghana is growing, right, there's a need of about 200,000 skilled individuals. Some of those will come internally from Ghana, but a lot of that can come from the diaspora returning with the purpose for a specific sector to grow that specific sector. We're also talking about new businesses. There is a huge opportunity for new businesses to be built on this continent. There's so many diaspora that are returning with great ideas and with integration strategies that allow diaspora to speak to indigenous Africans that are on the ground that understand the ecosystem, because it is very different. It allows us to be more connected, and it takes us back to those co-development opportunities and those joint venture opportunities. So the success of the triangle offense, it looks like economic benefits, but there's also social benefits as well. So the triangle offense, we didn't want to create something, and again, we didn't create something that wasn't thinking about the ancestors. It wasn't thinking about the history, right? We built this on solid foundation. So when we think about the foundational pillars of the Triangle Offense, we're talking about the Homeland Return Bill. We're talking about the Diaspora Engagement Policy, which aligns with the AU Agenda 2063 that requires all African countries to have this strategy by 2030. Ghana's ahead of the curve. What we're pushing for is for Ghana to do a second draft of that diaspora engagement strategy, which allows for a more robust articulation of what historic diaspora need to return, right? Before I pass, I mean, the role of education is huge when we think about the Triangle Offense. We're talking about brain gain by bringing African diaspora back to the continent for purpose in employment and in impact. But we're also talking about when we do what we're doing for the Triangle Offense, I believe that this also addresses the brain drain conundrum that the continent is facing. So essentially, we have a lot of Africans that want to leave, and not because they don't love Africa and they don't love the warmth or the snow that persist, but because they desire an ability to earn a livable wage and provide for their family. And so I think that this is a very critical time, again, 2025, on the cusp of last year's US presidential election. There's a lot happening, and there's a really big need for us to strategize, particularly around education. One thing that I will say, and I don't talk about this group a lot, but the Republicans have, if they don't have anything else, they have a strategy. And what we've seen is them attack two very prominent educational institutions. That would be Harvard, and that would be Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, also known as FAMU. Shout out to the Rattlers, which is the largest public historically Black college. This is significant. This is not something that is by happenstance. This is with intention. And so what we really want to speak to is that not only is education the backbone of the Triangle Offense policy on the continent, education is the backbone of the Triangle Offense policy for Africa to connect with its diaspora, particularly through the lens of HBCUs. What we want this policy to do is we ultimately, in the next few weeks, you will see us start to push out publications around HBCUs having an Africa strategy by 2030. what we see is that HBCU, like FAMU, like Spelman, like Morgan, like Hampton, is not going to amass and become the Harvard, right? We don't want that. Those are not our goals. But we do have a goal to grow and to continue to serve the needs of Black individuals. And so what that looks like is not necessarily turning inward and being more like the US. What that is turning inwards and being more for the global Black diaspora. Diallo.
Word. Word up, yo. Like, listen. I mean, we all know in the traditional Black family how important education is. We know what education has done for us at the beginning of the century. And I'm not just necessarily talking about formal education. We're talking about the same type of education that Booker T talked about. We're talking about the same education that Du Bois talked about. So we need it all. We need all forms of education. And it's going to be very, very, very important. Like, it's just, there's no way that we can, there's no way that we can ignore the importance of education. There's also no way that we can ignore the importance of African-centered education and how African people need to be educated with Africa at the center. That hasn't happened. I'm sure there's an historian, John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Francis Quest Welsing. I'm sure there are so many of our greatest African minds, Sheikh Anta Diop, who have told us so many times, how do you expect to get free if your children are being educated by your oppressor? Simple.
And period. The role of the government. So the role of the government is pretty simple. You know, what the government needs to do is to mobilize data. What we need to do is we need to understand data points from the immigration perspective, right? So at the gate, when diaspora are coming into country and when diaspora are leaving country, we need to track that. We need to understand that. And we need to use that analysis to influence and develop our diaspora engagement policies. We need to use our diaspora engagement policies in conjunction with our legislative documents to create laws and policies that allow for a special skills visa, or that allow for employment migration programs, or that allow for employment export programs that allow us to export our talents for the purpose of return remittances. The role of the government is significant. We do not want to diminish that in any capacity. The role of the government is significant in the reaggregation and the rejoining of Africa with its diaspora. All right, this one's going to be very, very simple and very to the point. What we need from diaspora organizations is support. It is not possible for Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, or Senegal to develop a diaspora engagement policy or any legislative instrument for the specificity and the specialization that historic diaspora need in their consideration for facilitation on their reintegration into Africa. No one else can tell our story but us. So right now, as it relates to Ghana, the holdup with our ability to move forward with this triangle offense policy oftentimes falls with historic diaspora and our inability to put pen to paper to what we need to be able to move forward. We need to be able to put that on paper, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the absolute pleasure of serving as the president of the African American Association for 2 years, 2023 and 2024. And one of the things, and we have an incredible diaspora coalition. We have the framework. In Ghana, we have the actual framework, and we have some of the actors. But one of the things that we need is we just need to get serious. I believe it was Brother Malcolm, we just celebrated his 100th birthday, that says, you know, we out-organize. Or was that Brother Stokely Carmichael? I'm sure, or was it Brother Fred Hampton? We out-organized. It's more than anything, we're out-organized, and we just need to stop playing games, right? We need to stop playing games, and we need to get serious if we truly want to open the way for multiple generations. if we truly want to say the efforts that we're making right now will open the way for the next 5 to 9 generations to come, then all of the diaspora organizations and the associations that we have a role to play, and the role has to grow to beyond socially. The social and the community aspect is very important, but we have to also grow beyond that. And one of the things that will be very, very important as we move forward and as these diaspora organizations grow, we know it's not for everybody. Everybody's not moving to Africa to join a committee. Everybody's not moving to Ghana or some of these other countries to join a committee or to do this kind of work or to do anything like that. We know that. However, it's very important for us to really get into the strategy. It's very important for us to get organized. At a very minimum, and I'll say this, I had this conversation with Baba James Smalls, like in the next 5 years, if we cannot produce a state of the diaspora report with real data, if we can't figure out what percentage of our remittances, what percentage of the GDP is what we bring to the country, if we can't at least have an economic report, a social impact report with real data, quantitative and qualitative, for the diasporans, the African Americans specifically, who are coming to Ghana, since Ghana has so many of them, then we failed. Then we've really failed. We failed our job. We haven't done our job, okay? And that's something that we all have to take full responsibility for. So we will be calling on all of the diaspora organizations in Ghana specifically to step up, to sit around a table, to have a roundtable discussion about what is it that we're doing. The Diaspora Coalition and the framework is here, but my people, just like anything else, it's work. It's just work. It's just work, and it's not going to change until we actually get in and do the work. We have to serve on committees. We have to have meetings. We got to discuss. We got to read. We got to argue. We got to debate. We got to research. You don't get to that diamond by looking at the coal. You got to give it pressure. You have to give it pressure. You absolutely have to give it pressure. So we're calling on everybody. We're holding ourselves responsible and accountable, and we're holding everybody else responsible and accountable too. So we want to thank you all for joining us. Is this the last slide?
This is the last slide.
So we've added a link to the chat where you can get a full copy of the policy. Now, let me just say that what we are looking for is we want the smoke. Hold on, let me turn this off so y'all can see our face. We want all the smoke. I'm just telling you, we want all the smoke. We want you to get a copy of the policy. We want you to read it. All my teachers, get out your red pen. We want you to find the loopholes. We want you to find the weak tenets. We want you to find the weakest part. We want you to find the part that you don't believe. We want you to find the part that you don't think is realistic. And we also want you to say, oh, I think this would be good to add. I think that would be good to add. Like, we're putting this out here to the world. We're calling on heads of states. We've sent physical copies to every embassy in Ghana, to the office of the president, to everybody. We've sent this out to everybody. We're using all of our relationships, and we're using all that we have, including our ancestral wisdom, to ensure that this can get in the hands of anybody who's serious. Because the diaspora has to become more than a buzzword. It has to become more than just something that we say, right? And now that the year of return has happened, the jig is up. The jig is up. Everybody knows that when you say diaspora, what that really means is there's money coming. But that money has to come with something. We need to build some real structure around it, and it's not impossible to do. And let me just be really clear when I say that we want you to go through the policy, because this is not just about the diaspora coming. It's about the diaspora coming to work with the indigenous Africans who are still here. The triangle offense policy doesn't work if we're still paying France. If we're still seeking loans from some of these other multinational corporations with crazy terms, it doesn't work. It doesn't work until we say, you know what, we're going to rely on ourselves. We're going to try. We're going to do an Ibrahim Traore, right? Now you take Burkina Faso as a case study and what's happening right there with the kind of leader they have and the diaspora engagement policy. Now you can get your durable districts. You can get your special skills visas. You can get more remittances coming because you're seeing what's happening with the money. Everybody sees it. So we've been on for almost an hour and a half. We want to thank you all. We apologize for the internet breakages, but this is also about abundance, wealth, prosperity, healthy living, quality of life for all of us. So many times and so often, we've gotten so used to fighting and struggling that we actually think it's our birthright. We actually think that our birthright is to fight, is to struggle, is to not have. But it's not. It's not. And it's okay for some of us to come on vacation and go back. We had a conversation yesterday around brain drain in Ghana, in Africa. How do you stop people from leaving to go to green pastures? And we said, you don't. The people who don't want to be here, you got to let them go. Because if you don't want to be here, you're not going to contribute to the mission of making this a better place. And there are some of us, although we were not born here, our spirits were born here. Our hearts are born here. And we're just as committed to turning over the seeds in this soil as we were to turning over the seeds in the US. We need our people back home. We need our people here. The triangle offense, y'all, is live. We out here. We made a bold move. We're not afraid, and we want your critique. We want your feedback. We literally are presenting this document for everybody to look at it, read it, and say, I like it, I don't like it, change this, here's some other research, send some other policy briefs for us to read, some books we should check out. We ready. Let's get to work. Dr. Ashley?
Let's get to work, definitely looking forward to getting comments on the policy. We definitely want people to read it, want your feedback, we want your critiques, we want your accolades and your support, for sure.
All right, family, from the highest of 7 hills.
From the highest of 7 hills.
At FAMU, and from the only urban land grant institution in the country, 2 HBCUs, FAMU and the University of the District of Columbia, we say thank you so much. Thank you for joining in. Please make sure you download the policy, and we look forward to following up with y'all soon.
Madasi, Oyewadon, Jetta Jeff, we thank you. Peace.
Peace.